welcome back to another episode of Alter Your Health Live, your source of information and inspiration to promote the holistic transformation of your health and the health of our planet. I'm your host, Dr. Benjamin Alter.
And I'm your co-host, Dr. Susanna Alter.
And we are going to get into some good stuff today that I think is pretty darn relevant for where we're at in the world and the season. And we are transitioning into the holiday season. I can't believe Thanksgiving, which is my favorite holiday, I think both of our favorite holidays. It's next week. Holy cow, like a week from today. So we're going to talk about keeping healthy, keeping happy throughout this holiday season.
Yes, we are. And so we are super excited to tell you about 7 key immune boosting techniques to keep you healthy during this time of year. And some of them may seem like, oh, that's easy or that's simple, but they're powerful. Don't forget how powerful these are. So let's start off with one of the basics, nutrition.
Yeah. I mean, how can we start off with anything but the basic? And I just want to, before we dive in, I just want to remind people that, you know, a lot of times we are kind of designed to seek complicated solutions to our complicated problems, but sometimes the solution to our problem is actually the simplest way. So the things don't have to be confusing or complicated. So that's one of kind of my personal philosophies and beliefs throughout most aspects of life, and certainly with regard to keeping the immune system functioning. And maybe it's just coming to me, do we want to talk a little bit about why it's important to keep the immune system active?
Well, sure. I mean, a lot of what we're going to talk about today in this episode are really essentially just building blocks to creating a strong foundation of health. And we could also say to create a strong immune system. And when we have that strong system in place, it's like if you think about a strong foundation of a house, when things come at it like a windstorm or a rainstorm, you know, it's not gonna fall down. It's not gonna even, you know, really be shooken up that much. And that's what we want to create in our bodies, in our immune system, so that when a storm comes in, like a cold or a flu, our immune system stays strong and is able to withhold all the chaos going on in the body.
Yeah, the way I see it, there's 2 different ways of approaching things. There's one way, which is to kind of run and hide from any sort of stressors or viruses or pathogens, or get a flu shot, or protect yourself with all sorts of barriers and sanitation, and just stay clean and, encapsulated in this kind of bubble. And the other thing that we can do, or the other way of approaching the situation, is to really just fortify the internal inherent resilience that the body naturally has, which is the immune system. And that, in doing so, it's not to say that we can go and, I don't know, like share needles with someone who has drugs or someone has an infectious disease or something like that. We still want to be smart, and we still want to take care of ourselves in those kind of fundamental ways, but we don't have to worry or overreact in how we kind of relate with these potential pathogens.
Right.
Because the fact of the matter is, we are in a world where we are inundated with viruses, bacteria, all sorts of stuff. And this quote unquote cold and flu season, it may not actually have anything to do with an increased number of viruses or bacteria in the world. It may in fact only just have all to do with a decreased resilience that humans have during this time of year, for a number of reasons that maybe we're going to get into now.
Yeah. Yeah. And actually, touching off from what Ben was saying, when we get all like hyper aware of keeping away from all the germs, that can actually kind of have a negative response in our immune system as well. Because if you're stressed out about being exposed to things you're inevitably going to be exposed to, that stress is just going to dampen down the immune system. So
absolutely. And the more that we're exposed to these things, this whole, what doesn't kill us makes us stronger is very much true, especially when it comes to the immune system, because the immune system is smart. So anytime we're exposed to a bug, a pathogen of any sort, the immune system adapts, it evolves, it grows, it strengthens, and then it's able to better respond to whatever sort of invader is, next behind it.
Mm-hmm.
So once again, we don't need to run and hide from these potential invaders. We need to focus inward on cultivating resilience, which, has a lot of, can be viewed as a metaphorically as well. We were talking the other day on another podcast about the psychologic immune system and the spiritual immune system, and how when we are exposed to different environments, we also cultivate a similar sort of resilience. Like, we can handle this because we have seen it before. We've been through this.
Mm-hmm.
So the innate immune system of the body, it's similar.
Mm-hmm.
So exactly. back to these 7 things.
Back to nutrition.
Back to the scheduled program. Nutrition.
And what in particular about nutrition? What foods do we really want to load up on?
Well, let me guess. Food, like real food.
Real food.
Yeah, so the holiday season is often filled with like non-food, food-like substances, processed stuff, refined stuff, added sweeteners and fillers and colors and you name it, that kind of stuff. Sprinkles. Yeah, that kind of stuff. So, that's all good and pretty. But when it comes to your nutrition, as always, you and I function best on real food, fruits and vegetables, whole grains, legumes, nuts, seeds. And specifically when it comes to the immune system, it's all about colors. So eating the rainbow, which this time of year is kind of a whole nother topic, but a lot of the colorful fruits and vegetables are no longer in season, maybe. And so that it becomes a little controversial as to whether we're going to eat out of season fruits or out of season vegetables to get those antioxidant rich nutrients into our body. But one of the keys that I like to focus on without getting too controversial is frozen fruit and vegetables. We just bought a bag of frozen peas and oh my gosh, so they're harvested when they're peak ripeness and put in the freezer and voila, throw them into the blender pan or, that's nutrition. That's in the modern age.
And you've got your winter squash are in season, root vegetables,
there's the colors,
beets, carrots.
What am I talking about? There's always color.
Yeah. And, fortunately, yes, we live in a world where we can go to the grocery store and still buy lots of fruits and vegetables when it is winter. So
yeah, for some reason
we take advantage of that.
For some reason, I totally forgot about all these orange things that are coming into season, which, the beta carotene, the vitamin A, vitamin A is one of the most immune boosting nutrients or vitamins that we have. So we're going to get into that a little bit later, but yeah.
But yes, so basically what we're saying is that these fruits and vegetables contain all the nutrients that we really need to keep the immune system strong, like zinc, vitamin A, vitamin beta carotene, vitamin C, all the important nutrients.
Yeah. So we don't want to focus in specifically on the nutrients yet.
Not yet.
But the fact of the matter is eat foods, colorful ones, enjoy.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Next,
drink lots of water. I know this one can be easily overlooked, but keeping your body hydrated is really essential for keeping healthy lymph, which is where all your white blood cells are, and keeping good circulation all throughout all the little corners of your body. You need to stay hydrated. And what also boosts the immune system a little bit extra is drinking warm beverages, which is easy in the winter months because it's cozy.
Yeah, so warm beverages are things like like tea. I don't know, what came to mind was like I've never had it, but Eggnog, is that a warm drink?
I think eggnog is cold,
Okay.
actually.
Well,
I don't know. I've never had it. Does anyone who's listening know?
Sarah might
I
know.
think it's cold.
Yeah. So anyways, I'm sure there's a lot of warm drinks that might not be the best options, but what we're talking about with regard to warm drinks are, herbal infusions, which are, it's the way I like to think about herbal infusions or herbal teas. It's like a broth or a soup that's just like, it's got so many nutrients that are infused, and then you drink it and it's warm and it's cozy, and you get all the good stuff in these vegetables / herbs. Yeah.
Exactly.
So drink herbal tea. Good stuff.
Yeah. But also, if you think about, like, especially with respiratory viruses, which are really common this time of year, we want to keep the mucous membranes really healthy. And you need water to make mucus. So that's why, a lot of doctors say when you're sick, you got to drink lots of water to keep all that mucus flowing.
Totally.
And the mucus is where all of the good defenders are, where our white blood cells are that combat the viruses when we become exposed to them.
Yeah. So just a kind of ballpark range, if you haven't heard it before, in terms of hydration in general, half your body weight in ounces. So that's somewhere, and I like to say that's like the absolute baseline. But if you have any sort of activity, like get up off the couch, do anything, you're going to want to start increasing that hydration, just because when we breathe, we're actually breathing out water. So we're losing water through our breath. We are losing water through pretty much everything that we do, any sort of activity. So if you can remember, anytime you get off the couch over the holiday season, grab a cup of water, drink it. Warm can be good as well. Yeah.
Okay, what's next? Sunlight.
Well, we're fortunate here with regard to sunlight in Southern California right now, but we know that not all of you guys listening in are in as sunny of an environment as we are, and that's okay.
Mm-hmm. Even if you're not, it's still beneficial to go outside and get some fresh air. At least 30 minutes a day we like to shoot for. Because...
Just hold it.
Oh, sorry. Hi. Can you hear me? But getting this fresh air it's just gonna be good for you. I don't know. What can you say about fresh air?
Well, fresh air is different than sunlight.
Mm-hmm.
So sunlight, of course, when you're exposed to the sun, vitamin D is activated through our skin, and that's all good and stuff. But depending on where you are physically on planet Earth during these months, you might actually not be able to fully activate the required vitamin D to keep your immune system functioning optimally. So that's where vitamin D supplementation comes in, which can be important this time of year. So we're going to get into that in a little bit. But with regard, like what you're saying, Susanna, just getting outside and getting in nature and fresh air and being exposed to whatever amount of sun that you have access to this time of year is super important for a number of reasons beyond the vitamin D aspect. If you've listened to anything we've talked about before with regard to just the healing power of nature, just having your feet on the ground, taking in deep breaths of air, hopefully fresh air, just being exposed to the vitality of the earth in that sort of way can be really stimulating. And I think during winter months, we can kind of hibernate sometimes and, coop ourselves up indoors. And so even if the weather outside is frightful, is that the word?
Yeah.
Okay. Even if the weather outside is frightful, put on a coat and go outside and, take some deep breaths and enjoy nature still.
Okay, moving on.
On that note,
exercise, which is just so important to get your lymph moving and your blood circulating. We talk about exercise a lot.
We haven't talked about it that much.
We haven't?
Well, maybe not to everyone that's listening right now.
That's true. That's true. So let's talk about it more right now.
Okay. Well, I feel like I've been talking a lot, but do you want me to continue?
Yeah, you continue.
All right. So exercise, like you said, Susanna, is a great way to move the lymph in the body. And that, when it comes to the immune system and stimulating the immune system, that's really key. And people don't really talk about the lymph all that much, even though the lymph system does comprise, there's more lymph in the body than there is blood, if you can imagine that. So keeping all of that fluid moving, and that fluid, if you can picture it, it's somewhere between like, I actually don't know firsthand. I've never like played with lymph, but it's somewhere, it's like sticky and gooey. It's not as fluid as blood. So things to do to make your lymph more fluid is hydration, like we said, that's key. And also moving your body is really the only way that your lymph moves. There's no pump in the lymphatic system like there is a pump of the heart in the circulatory system. But with regard to the lymphatic system, the main pump is actually our muscles. And that's also true to a large extent with our circulatory system. When we use our arms or our legs, we are pumping the lymphatic and the circulatory systems throughout our extremities, getting that fluid back to our heart, recirculating it, and just, that's, got to keep the fluid flowing, stay in the flow.
Mm-hmm. And speaking of lymph and circulation and staying in the flow, the next piece we want to talk about is hydrotherapy. And I'm actually really excited to talk about hydrotherapy because I think a lot of people, when they hear the word hydrotherapy, they think of colonics. And that's not what we're talking about right now. We're talking about simple ways to use applications of hot and cold water on the body that boost your immune system, that stimulate the circulation of blood and lymph.
Yeah, it's interesting that, hydrotherapy obviously means like water therapy. Mm-hmm. But really what we're talking about with regard to this sort of hydrotherapy, not colon hydrotherapy, but water hydrotherapy, it's really like thermotherapy. You could think of it like the heat therapy or the temperature therapy. So we're using water to conduct heat and drive the circulation of the body. And
what's so great is that it's easy to do at home. You don't have to go somewhere and pay someone a ton of money to get this therapy. And so one of the easiest things you could do every day that we recommend to everyone, all seasons of the year, is just simply ending your shower with a burst of cold. And that can be, I aim for 30 seconds of cold, but you can work your way up. You don't have to start with like the full 30 seconds.
Yeah, some days all I got is like 5 seconds, and that's okay. But the idea is to expose the body to cold water. And that has, in addition to the lymphatic movement in the body that the hydrotherapy promotes, this sort of practice of exposing the body to cold temperatures has so many extremely beneficial effects that I don't think have been fully adequately studied. But the fact of the matter is that cultures across the globe have been using these sort of therapeutic strategies for millennia. And I think we've lost touch. We like to stay cooped up indoors by the fireplace during the winter. But like I said, I think it's important to expose ourselves to some extremes, even if it's for a short period of time.
Mm-hmm. And I know some of you might be thinking, but cold water in the winter, won't I catch a cold then?
No, that is a myth.
Yeah, well, it doesn't work that way. Actually, I find that when I end a shower on hot water and then I step outside of the shower, I get chilled. I'm like, ooh, I'm freezing. Versus if I end the shower on cold, I step out and I feel great. I feel revigorated. And
that's a really good point. Honestly, it's been so long since I've ended a shower with hot, so I can't remember. But yeah, I do know the feeling of ending a shower with cold and feeling like, oh man, that was cold. But as soon as it ends, my body is like so warm and so alive. And it's a good feeling. So try it on, stick with it, and let us know if you have any specific feedback on the matter.
Yeah. And well, one more thing. The reason why that happens is because when you're exposing the skin to hot water, your blood goes to the surface of your skin. It's all on towards the outside of your body. But when you end on cold, you're basically pushing that fresh blood back into the deeper organs of your core. And so that warmth is like actually in your core and not diffusely on your skin. So.
Yeah. And if you think about that fresh blood going to the core of your body, infusing all the vital organs, that's like really invigorating on all sort of physiological levels. So
yeah, that's the medicinal part.
Do it. And there are all sorts of specific applications of hydrotherapy beyond just a simple cold shower or a cold plunge. But we're not going to get into all of that nitty gritty. But we do have a great article that really spells it out wonderfully on the blog, alter.health/blog, and a chapter devoted to it in our book, Vital Lifestyle.
Yes.
Read it. So on to specific nutrients.
Ooh, specific nutrients. Yeah. So these are the nutrients, like we said earlier, we really like to focus on a lot of these key lifestyle foundational pieces to health. But the truth is that sometimes a little bit of extra supplementation with some of these nutrients can also be a huge help in the wintertime.
Yeah.
And these are supplements that, you know, you can take at a normal maintenance dose, and it would not be dangerous. Yeah,
so these are vitamins and minerals that simply become a little bit depleted in the wintertime. The first one is vitamin D. Like we said, the sun is at a lower level in the atmosphere or on the horizon or whatever, and we're not exposed to enough sun to activate the required adequate vitamin D to keep our immune system fully functional. So supplementing with a little vitamin D. The next one is vitamin C, which is obviously present in a lot of fresh fruits and vegetables that maybe are less available this time of year. So vitamin C supplementation, there are various supplements that come from food-derived sources of vitamin C that would be preferable as opposed to simply ascorbic acid or sodium ascorbate that you get in a capsule. So food-derived vitamin C is really great. And then lastly is zinc, which is a mineral that is so amazing. Zinc is really like, it nips things in the butt. Yeah. So if you got a tickle in your throat, get some liquid zinc. We've got a link to one of our favorite zincs on alter.health/favorite products, I think it is. And we've got a lot of our favorite products there, including liquid zinc that will nip your cold or flu in the butt if you get it the first day or two. Just gargle it. Yep. Gargle it in the back of your throat. It doesn't taste very good, but it'll do the job. So yeah. Should we finish off with a few herbs? Let's talk about a few herbs. So we talked about warm beverages, herbal infusions, and maybe we'll also talk about different sort of herbs that we can infuse and also maybe cook with this time of year. Yeah, a lot of these herbs we're going to talk about are kind of like food grade herbs, but they are still super strong and powerful. So garlic, ginger, turmeric, mushrooms, those are like foodie kind of herbs. You can saute those up and mix them into a soup and enjoy, and your immune system will be happy and grateful. You cannot really overdo it with garlic, ginger, turmeric, or mushrooms. There's no specific dosages. So be liberal with your cooking of these kind of spices. And also there's a few more herbs that might be good in kind of an infusion.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, astragalus, echinacea, and lemon balm are all really good herbs to infuse into water. You'll also find tons of echinacea tinctures and glycerites and stuff like that that people like to take when they feel like they're coming down with something. But especially lemon balm is a great tea to just drink all throughout the winter.
Yeah. A lot of the herbs, herbal medicine is much more gentle, obviously, and sometimes we need a consistent, regular sort of dose and relationship with these kind of herbs in order to really, just maintain. They're maintenance herbs. They're not so much for the acute phase of, though they can be used kind of supplementally.
Like echinacea, and then elderberry is the last one we were going to talk about. Is also used a lot for kind of the acute phase, but also maintenance because it tastes good. Who doesn't like elderberry syrup? Yeah,
it does taste good. But in the acute phase, dosages change. You're going to want to probably ramp up the dose. So, consult a practitioner.
Yes.
Of course, if there is any sort of acute thing going on, it's something that we enjoy dealing with, even though we also focus on chronic conditions,
But also for if you're interested in taking any of these for just maintenance throughout the winter, it would be helpful to talk to your practitioner just to make sure that the dose is good and safe for you.
Yeah, and that you've got you got your hands on a good product and that sort of thing. You don't want to be wasting your money. And something that we talk about all the time is people come in to talk with us that are taking all sorts of vitamins and supplements and minerals, and they just, they're not really meant to be taken all or every day throughout the lifetime. These kind of things have specific effects, specific intentions, and we want to use them, consciously and knowledgeably.
Certainly.
So
yeah, we've also, for some reason, I feel like I want to say this too. Just vitamin D is it's a fat soluble vitamin, and you can actually take too much of this, and it can have toxic effects in the body.
A lot of people. I've talked with a lot of people that have been on like 10,000 units of vitamin D for months or years, and it's just too much. Good. It can be stressful to the system.
Yeah. So just make sure you're being safe with that one.
Be smart with your vitamins.
Yeah.
And we love you and wish you all the best. We're going to try to do our next live on Thanksgiving morning, maybe. It's probably not going to be this time, and it might actually be Wednesday. We'll keep, stay tuned. And for all you listeners out there, we love you and appreciate you.
We do.
And wishing you a very happy and healthy holiday season. Can't believe this is like the kickoff.
Happy Thanksgiving.
Happy Thanksgiving. We'll talk to you next time.